The world-famous clairvoyant Arthur Ford once uttered shocking words that astonished many. They couldn't understand how a reasonable person could even say such a thing. He said the following: "The experience of clinical death that I had to go through was one of the most significant adventures in my life. Of course, I would not wish anyone to go through it for fun. And moreover, in no case do I advocate the desire to complete my earthly journey as soon as possible. Everyone should live as long as they can. But nevertheless, it is also not worth panicking about the finale of your mortal existence. My personal experience of clinical death has become for me the clearest proof of a person's spiritual immortality. After all, it's one thing to hear about the afterlife from other people, even if they claim to have returned from there, and another thing is to personally visit the otherworldly space." Arthur Ford had been an active researcher of such phenomena before this incident, gaining fame as an outstanding psychic, medium, and clairvoyant. His research confirmed that he really had an incredible supernatural gift. Arthur Ford himself said that his interest in the mystery of life after death began during the First World War, when he served in the French army. Then, for the first time, he began to have a premonition of which of his comrades would soon be on the lists of those killed in battle. Moreover, Arthur Ford was not only right every time, but the predictions came true exactly in the sequence in which he spoke. After the war, Arthur Ford devoted himself to the study of a wide range of mental phenomena, and even, according to him, visited India, where he was trained in secret astral projection techniques by the famous guru Swami Paramahansa Yogananda. All this led him to the path of a professional psychic and medium. In 1924, Arthur Ford toured the countries of New England, where his performances invariably made a splash, and it was even rumored that he was able to read minds. Arthur Ford showed the greatest interest in the topic of posthumous experience after he became very ill. Moreover, the disease was so severe that the doctors honestly admitted to him that they doubted that he would survive at all. So he should have put his affairs in order and, no matter how bitter it may sound, prepare to complete his earthly journey. But despite the gloomy prognosis of reputable doctors, Arthur Ford decided to fight to the end. Although, by his own admission, while in the hospital, he did not expect to see the dawn almost every night. Here's what Arthur Ford himself said about that difficult period. "I kept wondering how long death had been coming to me. But one night I suddenly realized that my soul had separated from the flesh and began to rise above the bed on which my body was lying. I saw it from the side, and to my surprise it did not cause me any fear or regret. The body seemed to me like an old worn-out jacket that had expired. I said goodbye to him and set off on a journey leading beyond the boundaries of mortal existence." Arthur Ford said that then he began to fly through space. And surprisingly, even after losing his flesh, he still felt like himself. Soon Arthur Ford found himself in a picturesque place surrounded by mountains. The green grass was strewn with flowers, everything was permeated with light. Then he saw people, among whom were those whom the Ford had long believed dead. However, he saw many of those present for the first time. Later, the clairvoyant learned that in this place, all relationships between people are determined by a certain law of similarity which attracts them to each other, like gravity in our world. Soon Arthur Ford felt that he was starting to come back. Once in his body, he came to his senses. Doctors called his return to life a miracle, especially considering the fact that he had been in a coma for almost 2 weeks, and doctors believed that the great medium would never regain consciousness. According to Arthur Ford, this is what he realized. The true human being is a spiritual body, and the soul is just a guest in this world. Arthur Ford also said that our ancestors made an important conclusion that concerns our nature. They pointed out that man consists of 2 bodies, the material and the metaphysical. Of course, in different traditions these bodies are called differently, but the essence remains the same. In any case, the metaphysical body is related to the spiritual life. What is most interesting is that the further science develops, the more irrefutable evidence for these views is found. Arthur Ford believed that the spiritual body consists of pure psychic energy, and its presence in itself serves as an indication of the reality of our immortality. That is, that life after death continues, only in a slightly different form. Moreover, according to the clairvoyant, this spiritual body can sometimes even be observed firsthand. He gave examples of such phenomena in his books. One of these cases occurred on the ship Julia Hollock. On that day, the schooner sailed from the shore and moved westward through the northern waters. The first mate went into the captain's cabin to make the necessary calculations. Having finished with them, he spoke aloud the optimal course of the ship, not noticing that by that time the captain had already left the room. When he got no answer, he turned around and looked at the captain's chair. To his surprise, he found a strange-looking stranger sitting there. It seemed to the assistant that he was just imagining it, because there was no such person among the team. Nevertheless, worried and alarmed, he ran out onto the deck and called the captain. When they both returned, the stranger had already disappeared. The sailors searched the entire ship, but they did not find anyone. It would seem that all this could be attributed to hallucinations, if not for one very remarkable and even frightening fact that made even the sea wolves who had seen everything shudder. Next to the lot, the captain discovered that a new entry had appeared on the slate on which he was writing down the direction of the ship's movement, which was different from what he had written earlier. It said, to the northwest. The captain, struck by this mystical case, decided to follow this course, and did the right thing. Just a few hours later, moving in this direction, they came across a longboat that was frozen solid in the ice. In the trouble of the ship stood a man who looked exactly like the one the first mate had seen in the captain's cabin. It was the mysterious stranger. After a series of questions, the man admitted that he had dozed off a few hours ago and did not remember what he had dreamed. But when he found himself among the rescued, it seemed to him that all this was familiar, although he had never been on this ship before. Arthur Ford noted that the phenomenon of projection of the spiritual body, in which the same person is seen simultaneously in different places, has been known for a very long time among many peoples. And nowadays, doctors often face similar phenomena when one of their patients dies. Most often, the spiritual body manifests itself at a time when a person is on the verge of life and death. Arthur Ford said that this can happen as a result of injury, severe illness, in a coma, as well as on the verge of death. Soldiers who have been in combat often face a similar phenomenon. In his book entitled A Man Cannot Die, Arthur Ford cited the story of a British Army soldier who was wounded in one of the battles. That's what he said. When I was injured, I suddenly saw my body suddenly fly away from me. A strange experience. I seemed to be standing alive, but at the same time, without my own body, or rather, without a physical shell. It is very frightening, but at the same time it fills with an inexpressible feeling of freedom and lightness. Arthur Ford noted that the material body for a person is nothing more than clothes. Yes, it is complicated, but at its core, it performs only the function of a kind of temporary case. But our real body, in which we continue to live after death, is our spiritual component, and it is most important. Arthur Ford said that some scientists are convinced that the aura, which under certain conditions can be fixed by technical means, is a kind of emanation of our spiritual body. The aura penetrates into the physical body and constantly interacts with it. Clairvoyants who can see it claim that the aura looks like a cluster of multicolored lights. Moreover, sometimes the aura is able to reach such a level of luminescence that it can even be captured in photographs. Arthur Ford also argued that our physical universe is not the only one in the system of things. When we look at it and think that we see the whole universe, we are greatly mistaken. All forms of energy are interconnected, and when a person dies, the physical body is given back to this world, and our true essence continues its journey to those lands that we call the otherworldly space. Therefore, it is correct to ask not whether there is life after death, but what kind of life it is and in what form it will continue. Write in the comments if you or your friends have ever experienced such phenomena. Dear friends, thank you for watching my video to the end. If you liked it, please like it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's very important. Thank you, and have a nice day.